Hi, gang, Sexy. We're going to wrap up Shiloh, April 6th and 7th, 1862, from Worthington Publishing. I'm going to say it again. This game was refreshing. Just enough subtle rules. Uh, not overbearing. With morale, and that's probably the biggest one in here. Simple combat chart, combat resolutions table. Um, Casualty count. Each point's the equivalent of 100 men. I'm not sure what the cannons are. I'm sure it's not just one cannon. I never did look at that. But we've got, move that up one. 5 turns actually left on the turn record chart, but I believe we're gonna terminate it right there, and I'm gonna explain to you why. One, you'll notice by looking at the casualty count there, the Confederates have now lost more than the Union Army has. So, much like Shiloh was on the first day, Confederates pushed and pushed and pushed. And if I remember right, Johnston's plan was to push Grant away from the river, but of course, I don't think that ever happened, not even from the start. And deal with him, and then eventually go deal with Buell. I would assume, or if Buell had arrived, he'd be able to turn around after dealing with Grant and deal with Buell. So the objectives on the first day of this game before nightfall was to take Pittsburgh Landing right here. All right. I think the Confederates got within 6 hexes of that on the first day. And then night fell, and Buell arrived, and Lew Wallace's division arrived. So you added 1, 2, 3, I think 5 new divisions hit the board. With the straggler recovery on the 16 game turn, which was one of the night game turns on April 6th, both sides did pretty good. Some of them actually had a couple of brigades that had only lost 2 men, recovered all of them back to full strength. But with the arrival of the 4 or 5 new divisions on the Union Army, that didn't seem to do much for the Confederates because there weren't going to be any more straggler recovery. So the line had originally gotten down into like about this. And then Lew Wallace arrived. I think Cleburne was over here. All right. And then Lew Wallace arrived and Buell arrived, went into line behind Grant's forces that were on the defense. And then when the sun came up, they started their push. And as you can see, that push has gone from here all the way like this, and they're coming around the Confederates, and then through the south, or the, whatever end that is. I know there's a compass on here somewhere. Yeah, through the east side, and then turning back towards the west. So both flanks have collapsed pretty much. The Confederates did try a counterattack here in the middle with the 2nd Corps, which, by the way, Bragg has been killed. Sherman has been killed. There's about 5 generals that have been killed in this game by rolling 10s in combat and then rolling to see if the leader becomes a casualty. So, but they tried their last counterattack in here, about where Dunker Church is, and that was just to no avail. There's just too many Union forces. It actually got to the point where the Union forces, as you can see, they would have troops behind the line ready to replace ones that were in the line should they rout or run away. And then getting around this flank over here, okay, just too much for them to deal with. So with 5 more turns left, okay, the rules were if you didn't accomplish the Pittsburgh Landing victory condition for the Confederates, at the end of the game, you would use the victory or the casualty points, and then the Confederates would get points for the number of units below hex row 15, and the Union would get victory points for the number of Union units above hex row 15. And right now, it's not really much of a difference. The Union has a large amount up here above 15. The Confederates have, well, not so much a large amount anymore below 15. And there wasn't going to be nothing but more Union units. There's just no stopping. The Confederates they've just been dwindled down too far. A lot of these units are about to flip to their shattered side if they take another casualty or 2. So, and the Union is just as strong as it can be. The Confederates are capable of routing some of these green units every now and then, but like I say, they just get replaced by somebody else, or so many leaders that they just end up recovering them and rally at the end of their turn, and then they get after it again on their next turn. So, yep. So I'm going to say that if I keep playing this is going to be just a major disaster for the Confederates. I figure it's already a disaster right now because they're being shattered and chased away back down the road towards Corinth. So, all right, again, a refreshing game to play. Say it again. I go, you shoot, I rally. You go, I shoot, you rally, next turn. Doesn't get much easier than that. And there's only a couple of charts you got to look at. And when I say a couple of charts, you're going to look at movement chart. You're going to look at a morale chart by color. You're going to look at the chart to change or to fire. And, everything, artillery is the only one that can shoot more than one hex. So, and then your combat results table with a few little modifiers down here at the bottom for terrain. And that's it. Your leaders provide a die roll modifier to rally and recovery and to morale checks. Okay. And then your units are, get a couple of them here. Here's a couple of Union units. And the coloration of their strength mark box is their morale color, and there's only 3. There's green, which is terrible, black, which is pretty standard and decent, and then gold, which, as far as I know, there's only 1 or 2 on here that are gold, and they're Confederate, you got to roll higher than a 9, which means you got to roll a 10 on a 10-sided dice to get them to rout. And if they got a leader with them, well, there's no sense in even rolling. And then, of course, some of these units, when they hit a certain stage of losses, like when this guy hits down to 3 strength, he flips to a shattered side, and you see now his morale is now green. So, and green routes on a die roll above 5. So there you have it. This is Shiloh from Worthington Publishing. Well designed, simple, easy playing game, not a massive rule book. I know there's 2 other ones in the series, Antietam and the 7 Days, and I need to get my hands on the 7 Days. I haven't bothered to order that thing yet, but I probably need to, because I understand there's a lot more play in that one, a lot more battles and stuff. But all right, so we're going to wrap this thing up. Union victory, as was in April of 1862. And Johnny Reb's going back to Corinth to regroup again, and Grant is owning the battlefield. All right, sexy. We'll talk to y'all later.